Did you know that the urban waste produced from cities around the world is enough to fill a line of garbage trucks stretching more than 3,100 miles? That's a distance from Florida to Washington every day. And things are only expected to get worse. Thankfully, some cities such as San Francisco are paving the way and trying to change the way we think about trash. What is zero waste?
It's an idea, and it means sending next to nothing to landfills or incinerators.
In 2009, the city passed a law requiring residents and businesses to sort their waste into recyclables, compostables, and landfill trash. So far, San Francisco has diverted 80% of its waste away from landfills, and its success has been getting global attention. San Francisco now collects 650 tons of food scraps, yard trimmings, and other organic waste every day. That material is brought here to be turned into compost.
This is one of the most modern composting facilities in North America.
Okay, so you can see a bunch of stuff here that people have thrown away. After the waste is ground up and screened for plastic and other bits of trash, the organic matter left over gets watered and aerated. A piping system then filters out dangerous greenhouse gases produced by microbes. In about 60 days, the compost is complete and sold to local organic farmers and vineyards. How does composting help the environment?
Composting keeps materials out of landfills. It returns nutrients to farms. It reduces the production of very potent greenhouse gases. It attracts and retains water, like rainwater.
I mean, it smells like hell, but it's actually very beautiful what you're describing here. You know, people's food scraps, which might otherwise be waste, comes here to essentially feed these farms and produce new crops.
Well, from this facility, more than 300 vineyards have received the compost and applied it to their vineyards. Farmers are using the compost to grow cover crops that pull carbon out of the atmosphere and return carbon back to the soil. This is one of the best things we can do in an effort to slow down climate change. People have really heard a lot about environmental problems. They want to hear now a lot more about environmental solutions.
You can't see it on the outside, but this old industrial neighborhood is an agricultural oasis. Inside this former laser tag arena, about 250 kinds of leafy greens are growing in huge quantities to be sold to local supermarkets and restaurants. A massive indoor vertical farm in Newark, New Jersey.
Our mission is to build farms in cities all over the world so people have access to fresh, great tasting, highly nutritious food.
Crops are stacked more than 30 feet high inside this 30,000 square foot space. They're grown using aeroponic technology.
Typically in indoor growing, the roots sit in water and one tries to oxygenate the water. Our key inventor realized that if we mist nutrition to the root structure, then the roots have a better oxygenation.
The root misting system allows them to use 95% less water than a regular field farm. They also use no pesticides or herbicides. Instead of soil, plants are grown in reusable cloth made from recycled plastic. And instead of the sun, there are rows and rows of specialized LED lighting.
A lot of people say, sunless, wait, plants need sun. In fact, the plants don't need yellow spectrum, so we're able to reduce our energy footprint by doing things like reducing certain types of spectrum.
This sophisticated climate-controlled system cuts the growing cycle in half, so crops can be grown all year round, but with a much smaller impact on the environment.
There's all these stresses on our planet. 70% of our freshwater contamination comes from agriculture. About 70% of our freshwater usage goes to agriculture. 1/3 of our arable land has been degraded in the last 40 years. All these macro trends point to the fact that we need a new way to feed our planet.
That vertical farms could feed overpopulated cities while using less land and less water. They would also cut greenhouse gases by eliminating the need to transport food over long distances. And the idea is finally taking root. Over the past few years, vertical farms have sprouted all over the world, including in Vancouver, Singapore, Panama, the UK, and around the US. Now, another new farm in a former steel mill, one that's bigger than a football field. Once it's fully operational, it's expected to produce 2 million pounds of greens a year, all grown vertically.
We listen to the plants very carefully to try and understand what they're telling us and try and optimize all these different qualities of a plant. It's a tough business, but it's one that's going to stay, and it's going to have a bigger and bigger impact.